Good Sunday evening, folks. Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages here with you alongside meteorologist Hunter Forst, and we are continuing to monitor an ongoing tornado watch for our far western cities and counties and the ongoing threat for strong to severe thunderstorms across the rest of the area. On top of that, a flood threat does present itself overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning as well. Let's start you off with a look at live radar, because for the most part, the last couple hours, all storm activity has been pretty benign. Some gusty downpours, some thunder and lightning, sure, but everything has been non-severe up until this point in time, and right now there are no active warnings across the area right now. Pretty active, though, off to the north and west between Williamsburg and Richmond. A very loud evening there. You can see plenty of lightning strikes, extremely heavy rainfall. This does stretch over I-64 northwest of Williamsburg, does stretch up to Gloucester, though. Saluda. Right now, everything's scooting just to the east of Richmond, but it's really in between there and Williamsburg. You're getting a lot of heavy rain. Down through Emporia, the I-95 corridor, it has been drenched all afternoon long. They've picked up nearly 3 inches of rain so far this afternoon. But meanwhile, you head a little farther to the east, and not a whole lot of action going on through Southside, up through the peninsula, at least southeast of Williamsburg, and northeast North Carolina, seeing a little bit of some moderate, some possibly heavier rainfall as you get closer to the Albemarle Sound and areas out by Edenton there. A few more thunderstorms developing off to the south of there, drifting north, but still no warnings on any of those at this time. I want to recap you on the watch that we have up. That's a tornado watch that is up for our far western cities and counties. Higher possibility of a tornado warning coming out closer to the I-95 corridor, but it does clip Surrey, Southampton, Northampton in North Carolina, as well as Bertie and area south of Ahoskie there, and Hertford up through 1 o'clock this morning. So another 3 hours the watch is up until. We have not had any tornadic thunderstorms as of yet within the watch area, at least in Virginia. There were a few south of Rocky Mount, south of Raleigh, but that's really been about it so far. For the most part, as I mentioned, all storms have been sub-severe criteria, meaning they don't have wind gusts in excess of 55 to 60 miles per hour. They do not have hail in excess of 1 inch in diameter, but they are bringing about plenty of rain. You can see we have a flood watch that's up for all of Southside and the peninsula, and that's up through tonight, up through 4 o'clock in the morning. And the thinking here is that as the front pushes in from the northwest slowly, it'll drag through some very heavy downpours that could lead to some flooding locally up to 4 inches. You can see models here putting out higher totals as you get farther south and east with the slowing down of that forward movement of the front. So far, rainfall today, you can see it really confined around the I-95 corridor, where Emporia is closing in on 3 inches of rain so far, up to West Point, nearly 1.5 inches. You go farther east, only 1/5 of an inch reported out at Norfolk, and less than 1/10 out at Oceana, out at Virginia Beach. So we still have a lot of time for this front to come on through. You can see the bigger picture here. It is still out by the Charlottesville area. So from a couple hours ago when we joined you around 8 o'clock, 7 to 8 for our first stream, we haven't moved very far to the east there, and that slowdown of that movement is going to prolong this event right up through the early morning hours on Monday, Hunter.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But what we're also starting to see is some heavier rain starting to move into portions of eastern North Carolina. It's been kind of quiet, like we've been saying, over in this area, for the last couple of hours. Elizabeth City, portions of Virginia Beach, not much has been going on. Like we've been saying, a lot of the storm action has been confined up around Williamsburg, Emporia, Franklin. You guys were seeing a good amount of lightning earlier and right now, but finally, Edenton, Elizabeth City, starting to see some thunder and lightning heading in your direction within the next couple of minutes or so. Right now, Edenton, you guys could be getting in on some thunder and lightning right now. Elizabeth City, you guys likely will be next. So I'm sure you're hearing some rumbling of thunder out there right now, like you haven't been all night. But this is what we're going to start to see over the next couple of hours, is more of these thunderstorms and more of the rain. There we have a new severe thunderstorm warning just to the north of South Boston. That encompasses Farmville as well. So again, that just shows you that the environment is still ripe for severe storms. It's not one of those storms with a tornado possible tag, but still a severe storm nonetheless. A lot of lightning, gusty winds, 55, 60 miles per hour possible. But for us here now, still not seeing any severe storms, but again, a lot of lightning heading up into Edenton and Elizabeth City with, pretty shortly. Let's take a look at it on the Futurecast. And again, we're going to continue to see these heavier downpours moving into the area over the next couple of hours. So by midnight, a lot of us getting in on heavier downpours. I know the south side hasn't been seeing much over the last couple of hours. Areas around 95 and up towards Williamsburg and Gloucester, you guys have been seeing a lot. So it's going to be kind of these on and off blobs of heavy downpours, throughout the night tonight. And that's going to linger into our morning commute tomorrow. So especially if you have an early morning commute, it's definitely going to be a little bit dicey. And again, within these lines of storms or these blobs, again, you have the chance to see, an isolated severe storm. Still have that tornado watch, so an isolated tornado warning still isn't out of the question, especially for areas closer to the 95 corridor. But you'll notice a lot of the heaviest rain kind of just meandering over the same areas. That's why we saw those rain totals higher for Virginia Beach, Elizabeth City, and Hertford, because you see these reds, that's indicative of really heavy rain, heavy rainfall, so higher amounts in those rainfall totals, and it's going over the same areas, throughout the morning into the early part of the morning. And again, we'll see those downpours, once we get to about 6, 7 o'clock, starting to lighten up a little bit, but still have to watch out for any water on the roadways. We still have that flood watch in effect until 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's going to be dark. There's going to be water on the roadways in a few areas. So that's something you want to watch. You don't want to risk it with your car. Turn around, don't drown. You never know how deep that water is out there on the roadways. Street flooding is a concern as well, because some of these areas here, don't have the best drainage system. So you could certainly see some street flooding along with that as well. So by the time we get to about 8, 9 o'clock, things are starting to look a little bit better. Could start to see, a few heavier downpours around Mania around 8, 9 o'clock. But overall, things are getting much better by mid to late morning. We're starting to dry out. Cloudy skies, temperatures much cooler, mid to upper 50s, a few lower 60s in a few areas. Could see a few isolated sprinkles, heading into the late morning and early afternoon. But for the most part, if you have any St. Patty's Day plans heading into the afternoon, we are going to be looking much better than how we started out our Monday. We'll see those temperatures dropping back into the mid to lower 50s by the evening, and then finally starting to see, skies clearing as we head later into the overnight on Monday and into Tuesday. Again, here's the rainfall forecast like we were talking about. 2 to 4 inches in those areas where we were seeing those darker reds for a longer period of time. So far tonight, you guys have barely seen anything. Most of the rain has been further towards Emporia, Newport News, Wakefield. But again, as we go throughout the next couple of hours, we could kind of see that switch of the heavier rain staying over towards Southside, eastern North Carolina, where that flood watch is as well. Here's again that flood watch, locally up to 4 inches of rain possible. So this includes, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Suffolk, the peninsula as well. We still have, again, that chance to see an isolated severe storm. We're in a level 2 out of a level 5. So it's not the highest risk, but that chance still is there to see, a severe storm, which is what we've been seeing, not in our area, but all around us the last couple of hours. We just, again, had that one issued in South Boston just a couple minutes ago. And as we take a look back at the radar, there we go. Again, seeing some heavier rain starting again to move in to eastern North Carolina. And you'll notice a lot more lightning going on with these storms. So when you kind of see an uptick in lightning, that kind of means that the storms are getting a little bit stronger, not necessarily meaning it's going to become severe, but, you're just going to have maybe some gusty winds, thunder, lightning with these storms. But again, just something to watch over the next hour or so as it continues to move up towards the north and the east. Eventually, this will make its way into the south side around Chesapeake, Virginia Beach. But right now, a lot of us, again, are seeing kind of a break in the action, especially around Norfolk, Reynoldson right now, Moyock. But again, some of these storms are heading your way right now. We're not seeing much in the way of severe storms. We just have the one that's out towards our west, right around Lynchburg and Farmville to the north of South Boston. But again, we have that tornado watch out until 1 o'clock in the morning. Is there a chance that it kind of gets expanded more towards the east? There was that thought. It's not really looking as likely now. But again, it's still encompassing all this area up towards Richmond, along 95, and down south into central portions of North Carolina. But still seeing a lot of lightning bubbling up here over the last couple of hours or so. And all of this, again, is moving into our area, eastern North Carolina, the south side, eventually up into, the eastern shore. So definitely a lot going on here. The main threats with these storms, what we're thinking would be, the damaging winds. If you get a severe storm, 55, 60 mile per hour gusts, certainly likely. It's been breezy all day. We've been seeing gusts 40, 45 miles per hour even without the storms. So with these storms coming through, again, you have that chance to see those higher gusts. Street flooding is higher, medium to high, especially with all that rain coming through. Hail and tornado, that threat, is lower. The hail threat is definitely the lowest. With that tornado watch, we still, again, have that chance to see, an isolated spin up. And if there was a tornado warning, the chances, or it's not going to be anything like, we've been seeing on the news the last couple of days. Not going to be any of those long tracked, super strong tornadoes. Likely would just be a quick spin up if that was to be the case. Also a chance we could see, one of those warnings where it's a severe thunderstorm warning and it has that red outline around it. And that just means a tornado possible tag. So that's just something to keep in mind over the next couple of hours. If, you get a severe thunderstorm warning and you read it and it says tornado possible, that just means there's rotation in that storm, in the severe thunderstorm, but not well defined enough for a tornado warning to be issued on that storm. But what you have to keep in mind is that a tornado could form quickly from that storm. So you gotta kind of have to treat it like it is a tornado warning, especially if it does have that tornado possible tag. But out there right now, we're really not seeing, a whole bunch in the way of severe storms. Luckily for us, we are seeing a lot of thunder, and lightning out there. But overall, the severe storm risk right now isn't super high. Tim?
Yeah, I want to give you a regional look now of satellite and radar here and kind of show you the players on the field. We've got our cold front to the northwest, still has not made much headway to the south and east. It's still strung up pretty much due east of the Blue Ridge Mountains right now, out by Charlottesville. You can see it depicted on there with the cold front northwest of D.C. Out ahead of it, we've got a stiff south wind. It's been gusty all day today, and that's been advecting or transporting in the unstable air. Now we're 3 hours past sunset, so we've lost the daytime heating element of things. But I want you to notice something here. We've got no real squall line to focus the energy on. Everything is spread out. So all of these storms are pretty much vying for the same amount of energy to develop into potentially a severe thunderstorm, okay? There's nothing focused along a line, a squall line, to really kind of concentrate the energy and force it into a severe thunderstorm line squall. We just don't have that. It's very rugged, it's very disorganized, and it's all well ahead of the main forcing, which is our cold front here. So until we get that to move its way farther south and east, we're really just going to kind of see these spread out downpours, thunder and lightning, all benign thunderstorms, non-severe in criteria here. But there is a lot of rain associated with them because we've got such high dew points out there. Now, we had the shower activity earlier this afternoon that did work to cool temperatures down a little bit, but I want to show you where temperatures still are this hour. We are still 70 degrees out at Norfolk right now. In fact, temperatures have climbed up a little bit since the rain tapered off right around sunset this evening. So we're still at 70. Now look at dew points here. Those are not too far behind, in the low 60s. Typically, this time of year, if we do get a dew point north of 60, that's ample amounts of energy or available moisture in the atmosphere. So despite losing the daytime heating, we still have a lot of energy and moisture in the atmosphere here. And once we get that forcing or the lift, the trigger mechanism, which is our cold front, to dig in under that warm, moist air and force it to rise, we'll likely see a bit of an increase in thunderstorm activity. Will it be severe? I think chances go down as we go later into the overnight, okay? Even though we're still warm, we're still humid, I think that our chances are going down for seeing widespread severe weather. There still will be some isolated storms here and there that have that spin if they can tap into that available energy, but I think the chances will go down. SPC Outlook, Storm Prediction Center, still, they just updated this about an hour and a half ago, and we're still labeled as a level 2 out of that 5-tiered system, okay? So it's not 0, it's not exceptionally high, but it's also something to pay attention to because we have the overall ingredients that are in place. More insightfully, we have the risk of a tornado. Now you're looking at that brown shading there that is pretty much just inland from our coastal areas, stretches all the way to 95, all the way to the I-81 corridor. And you look at the legend there and you say 5% risk. That's not exceptionally high. I'll tell you what, that is pretty high for a level 2 risk. Okay, we've seen it before get up to 10%, 15% and not produce anything. Sometimes it could be low as 2% and produce a tornado or two. So the risk is there, which is why we still do have that tornado watch that is up for our far western cities and counties through 1 o'clock in the morning. Will they cancel it early? I don't think so. I think they'll allow it to expire at 1 or maybe even expand it a little bit, depending on how slowly that front gets here, because it has not been moving very fast. In fact, I think it's been underperforming in terms of what the models were showing it to be moving, and it's still west of Farmville. You can see there's a little bit more lift out near Farmville where we're getting the severe thunderstorm activity. Severe thunderstorm warning is out there right now. In fact, here's the verbiage on it. It's a radar indicated, meaning winds are radar indicated to be in excess of 55 to 60 miles per hour. And it's a pretty large polygon as well, which is usually indicative of it being a severe wind event there instead of one that would particularly contain a tornado or so. But closer to home, let's look at some lightning here. I'll turn on just pure lightning so we can get a gauge on how many strikes there are. And let's look over the last 15 minutes or so. And that count you see in the top right, it went from 446 over the last 60 minutes to in the last quarter hour down to 58. And a lot of times what we can do with lightning trackers is we can hone it over an area like we have right here, set it for a time, 15, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, and see if the count strike goes up or goes down. If the count strike is beginning to tick upwards significantly, that's an indicator that the storm cluster is intensifying. There's more convection, there's more friction in the upper levels of the thunderstorm cloud, causing that lightning, and that would cause the tracker to go up. Right now, we can look at it, just over a short couple minutes here and see that it's kind of hovering in the upper 50s right now. And that cluster is moving over into a more stable environment as it builds to the north. So we'll likely see that strike count come down a little bit over the coming hours or so. What is going to be a growing problem tonight is going to be the flooding risk. And there is a flood advisory here that is up for the I-95 corridor south of Petersburg here. And that flood advisory is for some rainfall totals here. You can see some of these accumulations. This is a 12-hour total. But some of these bright shadings here, 5 inches along I-95 there, 4.8 just to the west of Waverly. Petersburg area coming in at 2.5 inches. So that's a lot of rain for the ground to absorb. It has been particularly dry, but we're likely seeing some ponding on roadways there, even south of Emporia, over 3 inches over the last 12 hours or so. And we're still looking at very heavy rain, pretty much building right along I-95, lifting from south to north. So they're just going to add to those totals there over the next couple of hours. We're now focused here down to the south, where heavier rain is beginning to overspread northeastern North Carolina. You're looking at a 3-hour loop here. I'll put it to the current positioning, and we've got some good amount of rainfall there and a lot of lightning south of the Albemarle Sound lifting north. No severe tags on this, but likely some gusty winds and likely also some extremely heavy rainfall. We'll look at rainfall rates overnight, 1 to 2 inches per hour, because of those exceptionally high dew points that are currently in place across the entire area. And as we go through tonight, we'll see those rainfall totals really begin to add up. Just to give you an indication of how long we're looking at rain for here, this is the next 12 hours. Don't see it really tapering off from west to east until we get past mid-morning tomorrow. So this is going to be something that impacts the morning commute on your Monday morning on St. Patrick's Day. We're looking at widespread rainfall here from 5 to 7 a.m. and then tapering off from west to east as that front slowly pushes east. Now, keep in mind, it has been underperforming. It has been moving slower than models have anticipated. So we could certainly see the rain hanging on possibly right up through midday tomorrow, and that would just add to those rainfall totals. So we'll keep that in mind and watch it as we go through the overnight, but still watching for that main concern of the flooding, as well as that severe threat there with that ongoing tornado watch until 1 o'clock in the morning. Hunter?
Yeah, and one of the things that also was noticeable today was the gusty winds. I mean, we saw gusts 40, 45 miles per hour, and here are the sustained winds out there now. We're seeing, sustained winds in Norfolk and Chesapeake at 21 miles per hour, 17 in Manio, 16 in Newport News, 12 in Franklin. So it's still, a breezy evening. Seeing sustained winds about 19 in Portsmouth, 18 in Moyock, 33 in Duck. That's just sustained winds. So, constant. Not just gusts. And here is what we saw today in regards to those peak gusts. I mean, Norfolk, we gusted up to 46 miles per hour, 40 in Virginia Beach, 40 in Elizabeth City, 32 in Newport News, 35 in Hampton. So it's just been a breezy, windy day today. We didn't even need, those thunderstorms to give us these gusts that are, 40, 45 miles per hour. But when these storms come through and if they, grow to be severe, they have the chance to have gusts even higher than this, 55, 60, 65 miles per hour, isn't out of the realm of possibilities. Whether we get a severe storm or not is still, in question. Again, that chance is there as we go throughout the next couple of hours. But again, it's just been a breezy day. Over the next couple of hours, we'll continue to see gusts, 30 to 40 miles per hour, by the time we get, later into the overnight hours. So by about, 2:30 in the morning, we'll see those gusts starting to come down a bit. You'll notice they're still high in Elizabeth City and Kill Devil Hills, 30 to 40 miles per hour. But by the time, we're getting into the mid to late morning, things start to look a little bit better in terms of gusts. But then by the time we get later into the day on Monday, so late morning, early afternoon, we kind of start to see those gusts coming up a bit, 20, 25 miles per hour. Nothing like we saw today. But again, it's also going to be cooler. We're going to be in the mid to upper 50s, a few low 60s out there. So it's going to be feeling even colder, with when you're seeing gusts 20 to 25 miles per hour on top of 55-degree weather after you just saw temperatures that were in, the low 70s and upper 60s waking up in the morning. So definitely going to be a big change, heading into the day tomorrow. It'll be better than what we saw today and this evening, but it is just going to be much cooler. And again, it'll stay breezy, heading into Monday night and then, heading over the next couple of days, even into Tuesday. It's looking like it'll continue to be rather breezy before that continues to come down heading into the day on Wednesday. Just wanted to take a look back here at the radar, see what we're looking at. Again, no warnings out there right now. The one that was just out towards South Boston looks like was expired, and not seeing any severe warnings. We are seeing what looks to be a flash flood warning, likely in areas around Raleigh. They had a flood advisory earlier. Flood advisory is more of a nuisance, kind of telling you that there could be water on the roadways, things like that. Take your time. But a flood warning is definitely more of a serious nature. And that's definitely what we have the chance of seeing tonight in a few areas, a few flood warnings, especially if you're seeing, flash flood warning until 12:15 in the morning for Wake County, right around Raleigh. But again, we have the chance to see some of these flash flood warnings over the next couple of hours, especially if you're getting these strong or these heavy downpours over the same areas over hour after hour after hour. And this will continue heading into our morning commute. So that's something you want to take into account. I mean, you're off on the highway, you're listening to some music, but the rain is coming down. It's heavy. You lose traction. You start hydroplaning. It's a dangerous situation. Gotta want to have two hands on the wheel. You hydroplane once, and you kind of never forget it because it's a scary situation, and it's just something you don't really want to get yourself into. Especially if you're heading into work, you want to start off the week, right, and not hydroplaning. So that's just a concern for the day tomorrow, especially earlier in the morning. Again, some heavier rain heading into Elizabeth City, Edenton right now, Moyock heading up in your direction. And again, this is kind of the first heavy batch of rain you guys have seen really all day. It's been really light in this area, barely picked up some rain. It's been all the way up towards the north. So finally, you guys are getting in on some rain. Luckily, these aren't severe right now, but it does have some lightning associated with some of these storms. Elizabeth City, you guys are good in terms of lightning, but Ahoskie, you guys are seeing some just to the south of Elizabeth City. So some lightning could be getting, coming in your direction over the next couple of minutes or so. Still seeing a lot, in areas around the northern neck, but still a bit of a break in areas of the south side. But again, we'll continue to see more of this rain pushing up in our direction. It's really heading from south to north. So eventually all of the south side will be encompassed in these heavy downpours, thunder, lightning. Whether they come severe or not, that's something we'll continue to monitor. But it's just one of those nights where you want to have a way to get alerts to your phone. It's starting to get late, probably heading to bed. So again, if you have a way to get alerts to your phone or anywhere else, you definitely want to have that because, again, it's an overnight threat. So just something to, think about over the next hour or so. Tim?
Yeah, Hunter, I want to reintroduce a few radar products that we have that we use to analyze storms and their setup. And in this situation, I think they're pretty pertinent to look at. What you're looking at here is just the plain old radar imagery here based out at Wakefield. But we can switch things up and get a radar depiction of cloud tops. So this is indicating the height at which the peaks of the clouds are. Now I'm going to put a couple queries on here where there are greens and the brighter yellows. So you're going to see numbers here in excess of 35,000 feet down in Elizabeth City, over a Hosky area, 30,000 feet. However, if I go and query some here out by Richmond, we're looking at much lower cloud heights, 13,000 feet. Now keep in mind where you're seeing those very high cloud types. I'm now going to switch it over and show you the lightning data. Notice where the lightning data is concentrated on, where the cloud heights are higher. The convection is greater in the areas where the cloud tops extend to a higher altitude. So we're seeing the convection, the movement up and down, the updrafts and downdrafts, and there are some stronger storms currently situated along and south of the Albemarle Sound, indicated by the number of lightning strikes here. The count that you're seeing under the time in the top right, that's the count for the last 60 minutes. So the last hour is coming in at nearly 500 lightning strikes in this window that you're seeing currently. Notice there is very heavy rain here down to the south, and there is an abundance of lightning too. Rainfall rates likely with some of this stronger convection is approaching 1 to 2 inches per hour. This is going to present that flash flooding risk as it lifts to the north. So it's moving through northeast North Carolina now, and it's pressing towards the state line and will be overspreading areas of the south side as we approach the 11 o'clock hour tonight. And there is much more down to the south here. So it's going to be pretty much a conveyor belt stretching out by Wilmington and points north of there. You see there's even much more convection indicated by the lightning strikes here just offshore. And as I put it in motion here, you can see that's generally pushing off to the north. So moving into northeast North Carolina over in the south side as well. So that's something to monitor here as we go through the next several hours or so. Bigger picture, though, again, a 3-hour loop. Not much change here. We are filling it in on south side after several hours of a bit of a break. And it's still very, very mild out there. Air temperature-wise, we're in the upper 60s to 70 degrees. Out at Norfolk, and it is still exceptionally windy as well. Some recent wind gusts here, clocking in at 36 miles per hour out at Norfolk, 40 miles per hour within the last half an hour out at Elizabeth City, due south. So what that's doing is not only transporting in the more moisture in terms of the higher dew points, which you can see here, dew points are not running far behind the actual air temperatures in the low to mid 60s. This is more in line with an air mass that we'd see in late spring into early summer. And then, of course, in summertime, those dew points climb north of 70, and it's downright humid out there. And especially for this time at night, 3 hours past sunset, dew points typically would seem to come down a little bit if the cold front had come on through. That's just not the case at this point in time. In fact, talking about that cold front, it's still well to our west. I'll draw it on here so you can get an indication of where exactly it is. It hasn't even moved through D.C. yet. It's pretty much right along into the west of Charlottesville still, and that has still got to push all the way on through to the south and east overnight tonight before we can finally kick out all of these rain chances and begin to clear things out and quiet down for tomorrow. And that looks to probably take shape by mid to late morning tomorrow. So we've got a long period of time that will run the risk for heavy rainfall. The tornado watch is up until 1 o'clock. You can see the watch box there. It does encompass our far western cities and counties. So what we're going to do here, we're going to wrap things up on our coverage here on our 13 News Now Plus live stream. We're about 30 minutes until our 11 o'clock show comes up on the TV side. Meteorologist Hunter Forrest and I will be here all night. Then we're going to do a handoff to Craig Moeller and Taylor Stephenson overnight tonight to handle the daybreak side of things, as we do expect this risk, at least for flooding, to persist into the morning commute, and that tornado threat should diminish as we get past the midnight hour tonight. Anything changes, we'll hop on here or on the TV side. Until then, check back for a live stream after our 11 o'clock show tonight. If not, tune into our TV side. We'll see you later.